Everybody, it is January. Where am I? Do I know what time it is? Do I know anything at all anymore? It's July, Carol. Oh, it's July 8, 2024. Whoa, this brain of mine. It's kind of exciting. It just goes anywhere it wants. A lot of destruction. Oh, and it keeps rolling on in. I hope we see Kim Blanchard and others on the eastern side of Texas, western side of Louisiana, tornadoes. Yeah, a whole lot's going on. Analog synth player, B-Dub. You're in Iceland. Wow, okay. Your body is in so much less physical pain over there. Hard to explain, but all of my ailments have disappeared. I am not surprised. Get the hell out of America and move here. Yeah, well, I need a miracle for that to happen. Alicia DeMoss, Dee Moore, Andrew Cruz, Justin Wynn. You think you got hired? Okay, so you gotta come in when it's no longer a thought but a definite, I really want to hear that you got a job. Good. Happy to hear that. That's good news. Sandra, hello. And Shauna Howard, hello. Rage Against the Machine. And Barb and Eric and Rage, oh, I said that. Oracle, 11, Super Dave, Silent Walk, Lady Suffragette, Amber Eyes, Miss Blanche. Hello. Hi, everybody. Elle. Denise Martinez, Steve Ladner, sorry. And did I say hello, Sith Trish? Donna Davidson, very good to see you. Number 9. Hi, James B. Oh, other places are less expensive. Other places in the world, for sure. All right, so if I've missed anybody, my apologies. Tony Punch, hey, nice to see you. Did I say hello, Silent Walk? I'm not even sure. Let's do radar. This is the hurricane. This is Hurricane Beryl. I'm going to show you some captures I took today. Hurricane Beryl maintained that hurricane form inland, mid-Texas. Sorry, but Mother Nature never did that before. So what else might it be? Oh, the technology that man has to create weather weapons and just call it whatever they want. Call it whatever you want. A hurricane, straight line winds, microbursts, all of the crazy names now that they're coming up with. And so much of the population still believes this. It's see all of the frequencies on the East Coast up here, Northeast. Maybe they're preparing the atmosphere for Hurricane Beryl, that, yeah, it's going to be traveling all the way through the Northeast into the Atlantic. When did hurricanes do that? There's so much to be questioned, and people just aren't doing it. Wow. That means their brains are gone. Tornado alerts in Louisiana. in Jackson, in Lincoln, in Quachita, in Union, in Claiborne, in Lincoln again, in Claiborne, Jackson, Lincoln. Those expired, but you have more. You got Arkansas, Columbia, Lafayette. All right, so be careful. Yes, the hurricane is spawning tornadoes. Severe weather map, well, you've got where's the severe weather in areas where the hurricane is? You got only one little pocket there, but you have an awful lot in the Texas Panhandle, which is rather strange. So, what are they? You got severe weather, Michigan, Arneck, Iosco, Ogama, tornado alerts in Arkansas, Louisiana, severe weather, Alabama, Coleman and Morgan, Florida, Marion, Arkansas, Clark, Dallas, Quachita. So, these are tornado alerts, the red. Let me refresh this. The right spot. Here's the Arkansas and Louisiana tornado alerts. But look at Florida. Look. Once again, coming in from the east, or manifesting in the east, moving west, but you have these supercells that are going very south, going very north, and then northeast. Yeah, no. Mother Nature was rather, the natural processes were rather smooth. Yes, we had storms. Yes, we had hurricanes. But they were smooth. They weren't, the air masses weren't traveling around in all different directions in one little region. In fact, the jet stream moved from west to east. Remember that? Now, forget it. The jet stream has just been completely and utterly destroyed. You think you'll ever see natural weather again? No, you will not. Sorry to say. No, you will not. So, hey, Carol, Max. Well, there's a lot of power outages, so we might not see Kim Blanchard. I hope she's okay, for sure. So Texas counties issue mandatory and voluntary evacuations as Beryl targets coast. Okay. I found some of these mandatory evacuations interesting. In Refugio County, how do you pronounce that in Texas? County issued a mandatory evacuation for all residents. Okay. The judge said, they're not court judges. You know, it's like town council. They head the counties. They're the head of the county government officials. They're not actual judges. That's what they call them in Texas. It confuses a lot of people. But in all of these counties, except for 2, they're voluntary, but except for, visitors to the county are under a mandatory evacuation, while the residents are under a voluntary evacuation. Doesn't that seem odd to you? So if you're visiting your family in Nueces County in Texas, you have to leave, your family can stay. Doesn't that seem odd to you? It seems odd to me. Mandatory evacuation for all visitors. Again, Port Aransas. Aransas. A mandatory evacuation for all visitors. And Refugio, the only county, mandatory evacuation for all residents. Be prepared. If you are staying in place, use Sunday to make sure you are prepared for flooding, power outages, anticipate power outages for those who are power dependent, like people who use ventilators. It's not too late to get them into a safe place. Right. So, over 2 million people without power. Actually, I meant to pull up the power outage map. Gives us an idea. Let's see how many are still without power. Wow. 2 million. 2.5 million are without power in Texas. 2.5 million. Louisiana, 33,479. And Florida, you got 11,253. So you've had pretty strong storms. How about Maine? You got 18,985. And I didn't, was I just not paying attention? I didn't see anything so bad in Maine today. You do have these frequencies blasting away. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, into Massachusetts, right on into Maine. Yes, extremely low frequencies. Their distance is 300 miles. 300 miles. 300 miles to mind control, to manipulate the weather or intensify storms, to collapse bridges and dams. Wow. Well, it's 2,600,000 without power. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of people.
The deadly hurricane turned tropical storm tore through the Houston area. The heavy rain and wind led to downed trees like what you see behind me here. This is in the Humble section of the city. Now, everybody here helping out, trying to clean up the mess left behind. They say they're grateful it just affected property. Not everyone in the area was able to say the same. A windy, wet, and dangerous morning in the Houston area as Hurricane Beryl, which made landfall as a Category 1 storm about 85 miles south of the city, made its way through the Gulf Coast region.
A wrath of anger. To me, that's what it seemed like.
Many personally affected by the storm's wrath. The National Weather Service issued flash flood warnings and tornado watches. The storm also left over 2 million people in the Lone Star State without electricity for essentials.
I just wanted to make sure that I'm topped off with the generator so that she does continue to have oxygen all day.
The hurricane also cost at least 2 people their lives. A 74-year-old woman died in Harris County, and in Humble near Houston, a 53-year-old man died while riding out the storm sheltered in his home with his wife and kids.
The tree behind the house, it actually fell and crushed the roof. The rafters are what came down on him, unfortunately, in the living room in the middle of his home, and crushed him to death immediately.
As neighbors emerged to take care of their downed trees and blocked roads, some found their cars crushed or homes damaged. A physical reminder of Beryl's passage through the Houston area.
It really opens your eyes to just how quick Mother Nature can take over and, like you say, injure people or take their lives or destroy their homes.
Miguel Martinez Valle, NBC 10 News.
I'm not quite sure why you're saying that, Elle. Was there something that was... Did I mention anything about parents not taking responsibility for their children? 2 dead after barrel makes landfall near Matagorda, Texas as Category 1 hurricane. A lot of homes. Yeah, it's look. This is so Texas. It's so Texas. All of these cars underwater. It's so Houston. It's so southeast Texas. Yeah. So I can't play this. This is one of the storm chasing channels. But there were rescues of people. Though I don't, yeah, it's, there, some of this, I don't understand why people can't just get out of their car, especially if they're up on the roof, just get into the water. Here, this rescue. I don't know where this is. I think this is on the Gulf Coast. I don't know who it was directed at, Elle. So if you're directing that at somebody, please don't. This is a mainstream media video, so I can play it. I think this guy is on the Gulf Coast. So kind of right smack, by the ocean. So I think that that's why he was rescued.
He's got the life jacket on, and they're lifting him out of the water. Look at that.
Look at this video. This is the zoomed in. It looks like a work truck, too. This gentleman here, I'm sure, grateful for. Oh, wow. Let's watch this. Oh, my goodness.
He's going to be hoisted up by the fire department here, firefighters. We saw 3 of them at least on the ladder truck. And yeah, you're right. It does look like
it's an auto service.
An auto service on the side.
And look at the water. The condition of the water is the wind is making waves on floodwaters on Highway 288. Yeah. That is Hurricane Beryl for you right there.
And by the
see right there, and pretty close to what is this, a boat ramp or something? I don't know. The waters can be so swift that, yeah, you don't want to just let go because they can take you away. All right, Live Storms Media, you guys know that I can't play this, but Freeport, Texas, and you get to see the wind, and the wind literally toppled this RV and another one and a whole lot of them. And of course, you have to have the semi-trucks flipping over, as we have seen just in regular thunderstorms, but there's an awful lot of destruction in Texas, and this is what we get. Hey, Mama Rages. And the telephone poles, the electricity poles, and down, down, down. Remember when we had telephone poles? This is another Live Storms Media. You can get an idea. And I should be putting the links in, so if you want to check it out for yourself, the link is in the chat. And this link is in the chat as well. Yeah. Sergeant Beach, Texas. Those on the coast, their houses up on stilts, they may not have gotten flooded. Well, they may have, because we got flooded here when the roof blew off. It's not fun. Not fun. But Houston really got hit. Here's JLR. I will post a link. This is a 2.5 hour live stream where he is driving through Houston.
Hello, hello. So, I am in Houston, Texas, and it is a logistic nightmare right now going on in Houston. JLR investigates. Lots of debris all over the place. Power is out almost everywhere. I was lucky enough to get power or get gas here at a gas station because I was totally out of gas. Down there by Bay City, Texas is devastating, folks. And there's dogs running around loose here. So, good morning, everyone. JLR investigates. Come on in. We are going to drive and survey the damage in Houston. It's pretty significant. A lot of trees, and the wind is still blowing. Houston got a direct hit.
Alright, so I'll put the link in again, and you can watch him live driving through Houston. It's actually not as bad as I thought, but that's not to say that it's good. Okay. You pray... Wait, let me get this straight. You pray for all the homeless and the alcoholics out there in Houston? Okay. Why the alcoholics? Yeah. Yeah. A whole lot of suffering. Tree falls onto southeast Houston home, trapping 2 men inside. Beaumont, Winnie, Galveston, Pearland, Houston, Woodlands, Columbus, El Campo. Let me also, I forgot, let me show you. Okay, so this was at 10:42 my time. 10:42 my time. So it's 12:42. Okay, so Hurricane Beryl made landfall. Okay? Hours before. Look at it. Look at this. Really? Okay. You see the frequencies? Okay. Well, it's marvelous. It's utterly fantastic. It's amazing. This is climate change. The hurricane it has regrouped and intensified, and it's a landocane now. This is not what we ever had until the recent years. Look at all of the right-angled cuts over here, which I was focused on the hurricane, but oh my God, look at what's happening in the Atlantic, off Florida, off of the Florida coast. Look at these right-angled cuts. It's, oh boy, gotta go back a little. Okay. And you see all of the frequencies, right? Yeah, okay. It's amazing. It's just friggin' amazing. Look at this, right here. Wow. Oh my God, the extension. This tail goes right through Mexico. Wow. What a marvel. What a marvel. Our weather sure has changed. These are the nanobots. The nanobot line that produce the supercells to produce the tornadoes and the thunders and the hailstorms and the look at, I mean, come on, can't we ever just even have adult conversation about what's taking place? No, but unfortunately all of those adult kitties that don't care to have any conversation about what's taking place. At this point, I could say, no, they're not complicit. They are directly responsible for what is taking place. Directly responsible. So you have these tornadoes in Arkansas. You've got tornadoes, Louisiana, the severe weather. And they're saying that this hurricane is going to be causing millions and millions of Americans. The severe weather, it's traveling up north. It just never stops. It just, remember hurricanes? Remember hurricanes, when they made landfall, they would begin to dissipate in strength, and a hurricane that hit in Texas didn't threaten Pennsylvania and all of the states in between. Why aren't people asking questions? Okay, they're just not, right? They're just not. So, yeah, we've had quite a lot of people having to suffer the consequences.
So this is what happened around 9 o'clock this morning. Houston firefighters telling us that this tree fell on this home. You can see portions of it here. Inside, 2 people. One person laying in bed was actually pinned into his bed until firefighters were able to get out here and help him. So what happened until firefighters got on scene here were neighbors helping each other. One of the neighbors from across the street broke into the window. He was able to get one of the men out of the house here. The other brother here went to the other side and just sat with the man who was pinned until firefighters got on scene. Take a listen to describe how this whole ordeal unfolded.
More.
So let's start from the top there. You're saying your sister said, oh, the tree fell.
The tree fell, so I look outside and the car is covered. I look more into detail and the roof is caved in, so oh no, it really fell in. So then we just got covered up, coats and all.
Suits came out and we heard one of the guys, so we ended up breaking that window on that side and we got him out. And then we asked him, like, where's your friend? And he says, like, he's underneath the tree. So I go inside the house and
well, you got it. You got it. I love it when people refer to Mother Nature when it's so not. Yeah, flooding from Hurricane Beryl leaves motorists stranded in Texas, in Houston. I mean, this is a very common sight now, and I would think that if anybody has the resources to get out, they're probably thinking about getting out. I feel very badly for all of those who can't. And Houston and the surrounding area, okay? People, move everybody, get them out of their areas, but also depopulation. So you got to kill off an awful lot of people, because in these mega regions, there's only going to be a limited amount of slaves for the elite. For the elite. We're all bloody crazy just to let this go on. Well, yeah, so that's where he is now. Oh, and Ted Cruz is whale watching in Southern California. Ted Cruz is a Texas senator. Whale watching. Having a good time. The puppets get to live quite nicely. And Mattress Mac. Remember Mattress Mac, Hurricane Harvey, and other storms, where he keeps his store open, and boy, is he very involved in helping any Texan in need. Yeah. Not too many people care. Mattress Mac, however, does. And here he is for Hurricane Beryl.
Mattress Mac here. We're out here at Gallery Furniture on Sunday, July the 7th, monitoring Hurricane Beryl. We will be here if things get worse. You remember we were here during Hurricane Harvey and Tropical Storm Imelda and during the winter freeze. We'll certainly be here for this one. So if things get bad, give us a call. My cell number is 281-844-1963. The store number 713-694-5570. Call anytime. We're here to help. And here's what we did during Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah, so the mega churches didn't open their doors. Mattress Mac did. Sleep on the mattresses. We need more people doing good things. We do. We really do. Internet connectivity down across Houston. Fires. Lots of yeah. And this is from Hurricane Beryl, when it was a Cat 2 hitting Cancun, Mexico. Awful lot of displacement, not just the two-legged, but the four-leggeds.
Hola, buenas noches. Creo que va a ser el último video.
Very much in need.
Está entrando el huracán, está pegando. Nosotros, pues bueno, aquí acomodándonos.
It's nice to see so many dogs.
Gracias a toda la gente que nos apoyó. El agua, aunque trajeron muchos garrafones, ya me queda muy poco. Hace bastante calor aquí y bueno, gracias a toda la gente linda que nos...
It's nice to see people pitching in. California wildfires. Now there's another fire. There are 20 wildfires that have just erupted in California. And this is now the Royal Fire, the Pay Fire.
We are tracking the wildfire fight in Northern California. We are tracking the wildfire fight in Northern California. The latest fire burning in the Upper Tahoe National Forest near Soda Springs, the Royal Fire has burned more than 50 acres in tough, remote terrain. An evacuation warning has been issued for several homes on Soda Springs Road. Law enforcement is also evacuating recreation areas near the fire. Firefighters continue to work on containing the Pay Fire. It started Saturday afternoon near the Placerville Airport. The fire is at 77 acres at 25% containment. An evacuation order remains in effect for some areas of Texas Hill Road, as well as Dimon Court and Pay Dirt Road. Battalion Chief Chris Vessel says crews will be on the fire for several more days, knocking out every hot spot as they deal with the extreme heat and changing conditions.
And here, California wildfires force more evacuations and threaten Neverland Ranch, which is Michael Jackson's. I guess people are so into celebrities, and the minute they hear, oh my God, Michael Jackson's ranch is threatened, they might pay attention.
Yeah, the thing that is extreme about all of this, Hallie, is how early it's happening. Usually fire season in earnest actually starts like heading into the fall because it's the combination of the winds mixed with the heat. This year, I mean, I swear there have been 20 major fires burning at all times out west since mid to late June. That is beyond unusual. That could be a historic fire season because thousands of acres have already burned. Hundreds of people have been evacuated in multiple places. It has been abhorrent so far. It is this awful game of whack-a-mole, and I don't mean to make light of it, but mechanically, as soon as some of the fires lay down, new ones sprout up, and that's what we're seeing right now. Right now, the biggest fire in California is the Lake Fire. It's more than 20,000 acres. It's 8% contained, which sounds like it's relatively small, but they've made some progress, which is good. That fire is burning near Santa Barbara. It's also burning near Michael Jackson's old Neverland Ranch. It's affecting a bunch of ranches. That one it's on the very edge of. That's a 27,000 acre property. It's actually bigger than the fire that it's burning near right now, but that's a danger as well as several communities in that area. But just to give you a sense of this, I mean, one of the fires, there were 13 hikers had to be rescued from a fire burning near Tahoe.
And I'm glad to hear they were rescued. So, did you also notice Santa Barbara, California, Marysville, Utah, Eagle Point, Oregon? Burning up the west. Silver King fire doubles in size. This is the one in Utah.
Also, to let residents know, really this fire hasn't been contained at all, that is, at this point. Now, during that meeting, residents were also alerted to the fact that the power has been cut in the upper part of Bullion Canyon off to the side of me right here. I'm told that's about 20 homes. Now, I did speak with a resident who had to evacuate earlier today. She attended the meeting tonight and spoke to us about what she's going through right now.
Noticed the problem last night with the smoke. The smoke was very intense.
Sue Coughlin Burton has lived in her home up in Bullion Canyon for 17 years.
Kept checking, and then the sheriff came by and said we were on standby orders to evacuate.
That was Saturday night. Come Sunday morning, Coughlin Burton says,
about 10:30, the sheriff came by and said we need to evacuate. And we had put stuff in our cars and our trucks and our vehicles prior to that. So we were ready.
In all, she says 8 of her family members ended up evacuating from Bullion Canyon.
That's probably no more than 15. My deputies went to the residents and asked for voluntary evacuation, and at that time the people decided that they would leave.
Paiute County Sheriff Marty Gleave, along with fire officials and members of the Forestry Service, were front and...
There's a lot of people, as I speak, sitting in some church basement, sitting in some basement, Red Cross helping them, wondering if they're going to have a home. Floods like tsunami. This is in Turkey. Oh, Turkey, Ordu.
While the full extent of the damage is still being assessed, reports indicate that the flooding impacted several areas within the province, particularly the Altinordu district. The rising waters inundated streets, submerging homes and businesses.
It looks like a dam broke. What's that force of water? Oh, well, they can do that with electromagnetic frequencies. But you'll see the cars, the destruction to businesses, and yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm going to play this full out. This is, I think, a 4.5-minute video. And this is Kristen Megan. Remember Kristen, the whistleblower, U.S. Army whistleblower on chemtrails, on geoengineering? This is a recent. She's still at it. She worked for the U.S. Army as an environmental specialist and became a witness to geoengineering. Here we go. I think they're at the United Nations.
So here with Kristen Megan, she's a military veteran, right?
Yes, I was in the U.S. Air Force for 9 years.
Wow. And you came out and blew the whistle on geoengineering, things that you witnessed were going on. Can you give us the real nutshell?
Absolutely. Basically, I had heard of what many people know as the term chemtrails. And I worked in a job called bioenvironmental engineering, and I thought that was insane. And why would we do something like that? Modify the weather by using hazardous materials in our atmosphere? So, and actually the process of trying to debunk it or disprove it, I realized it was actually coming right out of my office, as I was one of the people that was approving the chemicals. And it really shook the core of my oath. And I did a lot of sampling, did a lot of investigation, and I blew the whistle and I got out. And I've now used my credentials, my oath, and my powers for good to help people understand it's very real. It's now openly admitted. There are multiple forms of weather modification. I specifically found the one of stratospheric aerosol injection. And collectively around the globe, we have to understand that it is now being admitted because they're saying it's combating climate change. Well, the climate change we need to be worried about is man-made climate engineering, also known as geoengineering.
And when you say you had chemicals being pumped into the air, what kind of chemicals are they putting out that rain down on humanity, basically?
Nanoparticulate metals, like we had different sulfates and barium and strontium. I know it's probably changed over time. I know they use silver iodide for certain things. But these are the odd part of it was the quantities that I saw them coming in, the form that they were coming in. And it's the same type of materials that I was trying to engineer out of the workplace to substitute with safer materials. And when you notice that what's called the safety data sheet, the information about a chemical of what personal protective equipment to wear, how do you dispose of it, how do you pack it to ship it. When key information is missing, I ask questions. And my questions led to demonization, and I knew I found something I shouldn't have.
That's insane. So these metals are basically toxic for the humans, I would presume, or?
Yes, because it also has aluminum. And a lot of people will tell you, well, these things aren't horrible in small quantities. It's not small quantities, because when you are putting things above us, the dissipation rates are dependent on weather and climate, but it's getting into the food, it's getting into the soil. And around the world, these wastewater treatment plants, when it comes to pharmaceuticals, or these toxicants is what they're called, they are not able to filter them out. So if you're growing organic food, are we going to go back to the plexiglass barriers on our plants? I mean, it's horrible. That's why you can ban it anywhere. We've had states in the United States ban it, and that is great to get the ball rolling. But people really need to wake up to it, irrespective of any political party. It's not okay. And you're seeing a huge increase in neurodegenerative issues like Alzheimer's. It's really difficult for people with respiratory issues and asthma. And people are wondering why they have allergies 24/7, 365.
And I liked what you said about that climate change, or the change we experience in weather. Often we can't disconnect that from these geoengineering activities. Do you want to say something more about that? I mean, how do we feel that? Is there proof or so that is definitely coming from that?
Yes, there are places that openly admitted it. Remember Dubai? And then when people got upset, they retracted it, but the can was already opened. And the issue is, I know this sounds silly, but when you watch movies with time change, they say if you do something and something changes, it changes the ripple throughout time. If you are modifying the weather, you are messing with Mother Nature. And meteorology is a very, very thorough study. And I do know a lot of it because of my profession of plotting hazards. But it does not make sense when you are altering nature where things are not naturally supposed to occur. We had massive flooding in California, and we have a system called HARP that is in the United States. And the same people who demonized me 5-10 years ago are now going, wow, because they're finding it's openly admitted in all of our U.S. documents. The U.S. is absolutely not the only country doing it.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, thank you very much for coming out on that and letting humanity know what's going on. Thank you so much, Megan.
Still at it. Good soul has to do what is right. You take the action, you let go of the result. You put it out there. What people do with it is not your responsibility. She's still at it. Good for her. Well, she knows the danger. She's got children and doesn't want to leave the world like this, as a whole lot of parents seem to. So, monopolizing the food supply. This is with James Corbett. I'm just going to play a few minutes. I will. Oh, and I want to post the link should any of you care to circulate. Kristen Megan's message. I'll also put the link in to Jimmy Dore, James Corbett. I put the link into the full interview, but these are excerpts that there's a lot of people who do this. So let's just listen for a few minutes.
Let me move on to a topic I know you know a lot about, Bill Gates. And it's so funny. I still live in the real world. I go out into comedy clubs all the time, and I have comedy friends, and they believe what they read in the New York Times. And I had dinner with the three comedians, and one of them said to me, and that he goes, I go, do you know anything about what you're talking about? He goes, I'm informed. I read 3 newspapers a day. And I was like, let me guess. The New York Times, Washington Post, and the Boston. Yes, that was them. And
so
I'm like,
you're less than informed.
So you're misinformed. That's that old Mark Twain joke, right? If you don't read, you're uninformed. If you do read, you're misinformed. And so I meet these people who still like my, and they're all nice people. They're all decent human beings, and I just can't believe that you can get past the age of 45 or 50 years old and not catch on that you're being 100% propagandized at. I mean, just the Iraq War, people completely memory hold it, and they went on to do Afghanistan for 20 years. The Afghan paper showed it that they lied about it for 20 years straight. The Libya, complete lie. Syria, the gas attacks, same thing. And now, but they all go right on board with Ukraine. It's like, at no point do they learn. So my hope, that's a long way to me say, I was having lunch with my old roommate, and he was saying Bill Gates is a great guy. He's trying to solve malaria. He's bringing vaccines to poor people. And just tell people why that's not true.
This is after the Epstein thing.
This is after Epstein, yes.
Yeah, it's amazing what billions of dollars can do for your public image, isn't it? And so, exactly as you say, I get why Zoomers who've never known Gates as anyone but this philanthropy god would maybe think of him in that context. But how could anyone who was there in the 90s think of Bill Gates as anything other than that evil, rascally tech monopolist who built his fortune and his empire on coming into the open source software movement and the relatively free flow of information that existed there, and literally penning this tone-deaf letter saying, I'm giving stuff away to you guys and you're just going to steal it. Why would I do that? Everything should be patented and controlled. And that was literally how he made his fortune. And of course, as we know, the United States v. Microsoft back in the day, the antitrust lawsuit, all of that. But suddenly, the turn of the millennium, suddenly he starts the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and now he's good guy Gates giving away his fortune. But, the strange thing is that in that first year of the scamdemic crisis, his net worth actually doubled. How does this happen? He keeps giving away money, but he keeps getting more and more. How does this possibly work? Anyway, there's a specific reason that people think of him specifically in that context and in that way. It's because in addition to the millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of personal PR that he has still directly financed, there's the untold tens, hundreds of millions of dollars in grants that his foundation has given to various media organizations to make sure that their coverage of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is favorable. The Guardian's global development website, NPR's global health coverage, BBC Media Action, the BBC itself, World Health coverage on ABC News, all have received grants from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which, by the way, are generally reporting on stories about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funded research and work. So what conclusion do you think the average person sitting there and just consuming it as just, their usual gullible rube? Of course, this is a great guy doing great work. That they've been programmed to believe that.
I mean, I try to explain to them, I go, Bill Gates is a megalomaniac monopolist. And in fact, they had a saying of how they would now it's slipping my mind, but they would get into a market, then they would expand inside that market, and then they would crush that market. So they did that with Netscape, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, exactly right. And people can watch the actual deposition of him during the antitrust trial. That was just, I mean, it's just crazy to watch him as he's attempting to answer the question, or attempting to not answer the questions, where he's pretending not to understand basic words in the English language, because he obviously knows he's been cornered and found out, but he just will not respond to it. But again, all of that's been memory hold.
For like minute, it's like the longest dead pause to a basic question. It's longer than Biden.
Yeah. And it's just, it's like the Bill Clinton, what's your definition of is? He was doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly right. So I think there are three concepts you need to understand Bill Gates, one of which, monopolist. I think that's absolutely part of his long-term game plan. That was what he did in the software business, and that's exactly what he's doing in his foundation philanthro capital work, which is about monopolizing global health. That's one of the main research areas and focus areas of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. There's another core concept is software, computer programming, technology. That is the lens through which someone like Bill Gates will examine any problem, to the point where, for example, people might remember before they memory hold this and claimed it was a conspiracy theory, Moderna literally talked about re-engineering the software of life. You know, we can re-engineer the software of the human computer system, essentially, by tinkering with your RNA. Yay, what could go wrong? The third concept that people need to understand is technocracy. He is a technocrat. And if you go and look up the dictionary definition of that, it's just going to tell you, oh, that's just someone who believes that there should be a sort of a ruling class or a governing class that is made up of engineers and scientists and what have you. That's part of it. But no, if you look into the history of Technocracy Inc., which was this movement that started in the 1930s during the Great Depression, everyone's casting around for ideas. How do we get out of this crazy topsy-turvy economic situation? One of the people who came along was this charlatan, Howard Scott, who lied about his credentials and everything else, but somehow managed to worm his way into the basement of Columbia, despite not being a professor there, and set up shop there to start his technocracy movement, which was based around the idea of you're going to have to perfectly plan the economy top down. And of course, you need engineers and scientists to steward over it. They're going to be the technocrats who are going to rule the technate, is what he called North America.
What?
And what they're going to do is they're going to calculate perfectly, as scientists, rational scientists can, exactly the amount of energy that will be needed to create everything that we need in the economy. Because again, these scientists are going to know exactly what you need, how many toothbrushes to manufacture and everything else. And they're going to calculate that energy expenditure. Then they're going to take that and divide that, measure that energy in joules, and then divide that up and hand it out as energy credits. There won't be money anymore. You're going to get energy credits measured in joules. And as a member of the technate, as a good worker, productive worker, you're going to get these energy credits every month to spend into the economy. And then it'll perfectly balance inputs and outputs so that there will never be this crazy depression boom bust cycle ever again. Yay, wonderful. Except the small problem with that plan, it was total madness, complete lunacy back in the 1930s to imagine that they were going to be monitoring literally every transaction in the economy in real time and measuring and denominating everything in joules of energy. It was insane. But actually in 2024, it's like, kind of could do that now, actually. Why don't we have a system that's based on, maybe carbon credits? And you get your certain allotment of carbon credits and you get to have this much and no more, citizen, because you are now a member of the technate. And don't worry, the overlords, the technocrats are going to steward over this and make sure you have just enough of what you need. So when you start to combine those ideas, everything starts to make sense, because Gates is in all of these different unconnected areas. Like, why is Gates the largest single farmland owner in the United States, right?
Why does it sound like Morgan the Martian?
So that's what I wanted to actually get into that right now. So here, this is from a place called Land Report. It says he owns a total of 275,000 acres of farmland, and it says with almost 250,000 acres of highly productive farm ground spread out over 17 states, the co-founder of Microsoft ranks as the nation's leaders of business names, overlapping employees, and addresses in at least 3 states form a network more tangled and opaque than one created by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is buying a giant amount of Nebraska ranch land. Because it's hidden, Nebraskans living and farming in communities where Gates is among the largest landowners are often unaware that one of the world's richest men owns the cornfield down the road. Why? Now, James, tell us, why is he doing this, and why is he doing it so secretively?
Because he's a monopolist and a software engineer who's thinking in those terms. So in order to start to understand this, you have to understand all of the different investments that he has in all of the different parts of the global food supply and the food supply chain, that including, of course, his early investments in Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods and all of that, where he is very much on board with, well, we have to get rid of this stupid old system of, raising cattle and slaughtering it. No. What we need is lab engineered meat substitute gunk. What could go wrong with that? We're going to engineer our meat in a lab, and it'll be...
The link is in the chat. Hope you guys are circulating this information. You also have to understand that he admitted that he wanted to kill off how much of the percentage of the population in a TED Talk with those products that, right? Yeah. Las Vegas officers rescued dog from dogs, plural, from hot car. What the hell is wrong with people?
Control to George.
I know what you may want to do.
No one knows whose vehicle this is. It's in the visitor parking. Since the window's cracked a little bit, I'm going to try and just push the window down. But the dogs are panting. One of them is on the ground, unknown. It appears to be panting in distress. Hi, babies. Hold on.
Is probably traumatized, doesn't understand what's happening. I don't know if you caught what they said, but one dog was panting, the other dog was just lying there, and look, at this point, that the two-legged is going extinct, are you really upset about that? I wish they would just pull the plug and just let everybody die, instantly, instead of the dragging on, watching everybody suffer, watching everybody lose everything. I'm done with it. Denmark introduces world first meat tax to reduce emissions. It's coming quickly. Farmer warns about worldwide food shortages. I will post the link. And while an awful lot of people may get all upset at me for saying that, oh my God, she doesn't care, there are so many people who haven't done a fucking thing, just watching. They're just watching all of this take place. You gonna tell me they care? No, they don't.
a world-first carbon tax on agriculture. The country will charge farmers up to 80 quid for every cow in the hope of cutting methane emissions by 70% in the next 10 years. So you'll have to pay 80 quid if your cow farts a lot. There's only one person to speak to. He's got 2,000 trillion viewers on Facebook and WhatsApp. He's turned into a bit of a celebrity. Gareth Wyn Jones, farmer extraordinaire. Afternoon, how are you?
I'm there. How are you?
All right, mate. Is that so? Where are you anyway? Where are you? Looking very sunny this afternoon. And look at that perfect backdrop. What have you got written on your T-shirt?
Yeah.
What doesn't what? What from what doesn't grow on? Right. Okay. Now listen. Denmark are introducing this thing where farmers will have to pay 80 quid for every cow in the hope that they cut methane emissions because cows fart a lot. What do you make of it, Gareth Wyn Jones?
Ludicrous. Absolutely bonkers. You know, these animals have been on God's earth since the beginning, and it's a carbon cycle. They eat that stuff behind me, grass. They put it into their ruminants, which is 4 stomachs. Yes, they are belching methane. Yes, there's a bit coming out the back end as well.
Oh, will this stop? Will it stop?
But all that breaks down, my friend, you know, and they don't talk about the billions of bison and water buffalo that we had on God's earth before mankind took them out. Cows are not the problem. Livestock isn't the problem. People are the problem. And uneducated governments like Denmark are a big problem. And it's the beginning of the end, I think. This is a start. And they'll bring it onto other countries. You know, they'll push it onto New Zealand and they'll push it into America. And then bring it all across Europe. And then they'll bring it or try to bring it into the UK. Well, I won't be paying any tax on my cows and my sheep. I'll tell you that. I'll bloody eat them myself first.
Brilliant. I was watching Clarkson, who hasn't, the farm, and I think he's done an amazing job for farmers. And I want to ask you a question. There is an election round the corner. Do you think successive governments have acted against the farming community in general? Gareth?
Can I be totally honest with you? I don't trust any governments anymore. I don't have any faith in them.
I don't think you'd be the only person saying that.
Yeah, well, look. Farmers haven't gone on strike, but they've gone out to protest, and they're protesting across the world. You know, governments have got a problem with the people that are feeding them. And I've said this before, you know, you're going to need a farmer once, twice, or 3 times a day. You'll need a policeman, you'll need a doctor, you'll need an accountant a few times a year, but you're going to need a farmer every single day of your life. And it's...
Not if Bill Gates has his way. You know, the God walking Earth. Fresh warning, they are preparing us for the next crisis. What, pray tell, may that be?
Emergency.
Oh, and I want to drop the link, because we only listened to half of the video, but this is happening, and it's coming at us fast. Very fast.
Alert, as they are quite obviously preparing us for the next thing. Although usually when I talk about these sort of things, it's in a different kind of realm. But this time I genuinely think there's some real cause for concern with what they are talking about here with some of these exercises as well. Okay, good. I've got you on some of these platforms. Good to see. This is really, really wild, actually, what's taking place. I'm going to show you a quick... if you're on YouTube, can you just put a 1 in the chat so I know that we are live here and it's working, because I've got an error message, so I can't actually see if we are live. Okay, I want to show you what... This is a food crisis scenario. I'll just give you a little teaser first of this. Well, sorry, one moment. Let's go to the shared screen a second. Okay, good. We're on YouTube. Okay, thank you. Here we go. I mean, talk about scary music here.
John. I'm at Arcadia and it's chaos here. People are literally fighting over the last cans of food.
Okay, we're going to go over this in a second then. I'm going to go through all of this because they've just done... Let's get on to this a second. They've just done this wargaming food crisis, and I've got to show you all the stuff that's come out. And we're going to go through these articles because I was really surprised by what has actually just come out and been announced with all of this. Real quick then, let's get this aspect out the way. Here we go. Quick thanks to everyone who's enrolled in the new program. Connor D, thank you for just enrolling. Peter A, William, Cora, Aaron with an error message, so bear with me. Here we go.
Help.
Bloody hell. Try to get to the parking lot if you can. I'll be right there.
Okay, so I'll give you a bit of context. This is all around Europe. This is their exercise that they've done. This is what they're saying. Look at the date here, 23rd of October 2025. They're giving all sort of European examples. This one is Malta here. And they give you a timeline as well with, hold on, let's keep going through here. All these different countries. I can't play the whole video because it will get a copyright strike, but I can play it. Here we go. And they're saying the police would just stop responding.
Food shortages around Europe. Supermarket shelves are empty. People in many countries experience it for the first time in their lives. Many people took to the streets, and in some countries, there are even food riots.
The crisis started in 2024 when the supply of soil from Brazil and palm oil from Indonesia stopped.
Okay, so this, a bit more context. This is sponsored then by the EU Council, the European Union Council. They've sponsored this exercise. They got some of the smartest minds in crisis management, food, agriculture, and they brought them all together for this exercise that they have put together. And why I saw this exercise before. I didn't mention it at the time because I wanted to see how it played out a little bit. But the issue is some of the things they said has perfectly played out in the last few weeks, in the last 6 weeks. And I mean perfectly played out. And now they talked about the cattle. In fact, let me show you the cattle aspect because it will come on to this in a moment. So this just announced just a month after the exercise. Coincidence, I'm not sure. Denmark to charge farmers €100 a cow in the first carbon tax on agriculture. So this just came out as well, ahead with the world's first carbon tax on agriculture, with cattle farmers set to be charged almost €100 a year for the greenhouse gas emissions from each of their cows. But it's not just cows. Everyone's been talking about the cows. It's also pigs, and they're going to be moving on to other countries, and there's all sorts. They're even talking about sheep, which...
Sheep, yeah, they fart a lot, I guess. The link is in the chat. It's all coming to us. Yeah, well, what a world we leave the young. It is such a tragedy that is beyond anything that I could even, the evil can think about all of these. But I just want to show you the end of the world. A blind Bulgarian soothsayer allegedly says 2025 is the start of humanity's downfall. Well, I think humanity's downfall started an awful long time ago. This is Baba Vanga, known for her alleged powers of precondition. The world is going to end, and humanity's inevitable downfall and extinction is to start in 2025. That downfall, we're watching it. We're watching it. Is humanity still alive in you? That's a question I think we need to ask every single day of ourselves. And here, Britain to be swamped by 52,000 extra illegal immigrants. I will post the link. Yeah, so glad you got a new PM, huh? I'm sure you are. And the intense battle to stop artificial intelligence bots from taking over the internet. And I will say that, wow, I don't know who is who anymore. I get the weirdest comments. I get comments that don't make any sense. An awful lot of comments with people who are just trashing other people. And I have to wonder who the hell they are. They don't stay. Well, the weird comments, who cares? But you're going to trash other people? You're gone. You're gone. I'm glad you all have good food. So, yeah, I mean, the internet, don't you feel like it's changed quite a lot? And you don't know who to trust anymore? Ah, my mic was off. All I said was this country is going to explode in violence. It's exploding already, but it's really going to get to a point where I think a lot of people just will not even want to go out. The 4 Venezuelan migrants choked, robbed man on Chicago train. The criminal gangs from not just Venezuela, but from other countries, are already here. The release of prisoners in countries to come across the border into the U.S., oh, it's going to explode in an awful lot of violence. And don't think that mainstream media is going to tell you every incident of someone having to suffer their crimes. They're going to keep it on the low. As things really ramp up and these illegals are out and about causing an awful lot of crime, mainstream media is going to keep it on the low. You don't want to frighten the adult kiddies. Cops kicks dog. I can't stand people, man.
He said that he called to complain about it, but nobody at the sheriff's department even called him back about the matter. He said probably nothing can be done about it, but he just wants to spread awareness. First of all, as I've had to explain far too often recently, according to the 1980 Supreme Court opinion in Payton versus New York, in order for the police to legally arrest somebody at their home rather than in a public place, if there's no exigent circumstances or consent, police officers must have a warrant.
Okay, so these police officers did not. But the dog, as you can see, did nothing. And this police officer literally kicks the dog.
Don't kick my dog.
Don't piss on my leg. Now look.
But it gets worse.
The dog did nothing. The dog did nothing to him. He kicks him hard enough for that dog to yelp. I'm just getting to the point where, you don't know who to trust. Americans clearly, on the whole, I don't know you, maybe you're sane, but I've met an awful lot, and boy, and I'm not saying, I'm Miss Mental Health or, I've got it all together. No. But there's a lot of behaviors that I see, and I'm horrified. A lot of Americans, I realize, they can't do a flippin' thing. And I'm not talking about the disabled, because obviously they can't. But we're in really, really bad shape. Display their joy. French left are rioting after they won. But there's all Western countries, if you think you've got pure elections and there's not corruption going on, election fraud, tricks, games being played, I think you're very naive.
Elections, because there's been a couple in Europe. Both the French and the English went to the polls with some interesting results in both instances. We'll talk first about the French election, where right-wing National Rally were expected to do very well after leading at the first round, but on the weekend it was the left's New Popular Front that won the most seats, despite the Conservatives winning more votes. Now, we'll talk about what all of that means in a moment, but first we've got to go to a few of our lefty friends in France. Here's one French lefty explaining just how happy they are to have won more seats.
Vous avez perdu, on est trop fort à gauche, on a l'amour, on a la fête, on a la joie, vous avez la haine, on est trop fort.
And of course, here's his French colleagues celebrating love and joy.
Restez en France! Nous les Boudous, nous restons ici! On reste ici! Voilà, on va rester là, les gars!
That, of course, was a number of immigrants who also voted in the polls, helping the left-leaning parties to the most seats. But this is how they displayed their joy at winning. So Liz, I know you'll help us unpack the results in a moment, but first, what is it with lefties? When they lose, they riot, and when they win, they riot.
That's just how they celebrate. They're really happy. What's wrong with that? I mean, the French elections were rigged. Pure and simple. When you look at the lead Le Pen's party had, and we already knew that they'd done very well, because last month in the EU elections, remember this map. The only department Le Pen's National Rally lost in the European Union elections just last month, the only one they lost was Paris. The blue there is every single seat that said we reject immigration and the Islamification of our country. We want to take France back. That was, of course, what triggered the French president saying, oh, hang on a minute, let's just go to a snap election, because obviously people aren't supporting me. I'm not getting the people's vote here. That's why we had this snap election. But remember, France has their elections a week apart, 2 of them. If you get over 50% in a seat, it's game over, Red Rover, and that seat is spoken for. In the seats that doesn't happen, anyone who gets over 12.5 is still in the running for the next round. So what did Macron's party and their cronies do? They withdrew over 200 of their own candidates because they didn't want to split the lefty vote, or basically any vote that would go to anyone but Le Pen's party. They didn't want to split that vote. So in the week between those two elections, they withdrew over 200 candidates, solidifying the vote, and that's how they managed to win.
There's always a trick in a game. Always a trick in a game. So, BlackRock and Vanguard are taking everything from the middle class. Here is the link. I'm just going to play a few minutes. What's amazing to me is that those who still have are not doing anything to protect themselves. Yeah.
3 corporations own it all, and now they're coming for your home. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. My name is David Quintieri, and I'm the Money GPS. I've been doing this longer than pretty much everybody. What I do is take the complicated and make it simple. In today's video, I'm going to show you how people think that they're funding their retirement, that people think they're investing, and they are only digging themselves deeper into a hole. We are going to look at an article. It's going to have some quotes from RFK Jr., Vivek, and all this, but let's not get political. I want to take the data from it, what we can learn, and then I'll move on to the next aspects. There are 3 giant corporations, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, which collectively own each other. So it's really one giant corporation, but they also own 89% of the S&P 500. They own everything, and now they've decided to buy every single family home in America. So if they stay on the current trajectory, they will own 60% of the homes in this country, single family homes. By 2030, they're literally trying to buy everything. That, in fact, is true. They are trying to actively buy all of it. Now, why? They want this as part of a grand scheme. But if you just look at it in the sort of, surface level, they are being funded by individuals trying to get into these index funds. Index funds. Jack Bogle himself, the guy who created the index fund, he warned about the level of concentration inside of an index fund, and that was so many years ago. He talked about this, and of course that is problematic when you have such concentration. We know that to be the case. And now we have it going even further with single-family homes, because it's not these big, huge multi-family properties. They have 300, 500, 1,000 units. No, not at all. It's the single family homes. That's when things start to get real strange. All right. The same thing basically Vivek said. BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard represent arguably the most powerful cartel in human history. They're the largest shareholders of nearly every major public company, even of each other. It's wild how that is, but this is what we have to deal with today. And what are insiders doing through?
All right, the link is in the chat. You can watch more of this little talk. If you click on the link, people are going down fast, actually. The Mafia Shakedown, State Farm's shocking move.
But let's get right into it. There's so many things happening in the economy right now where people are really not making any money, and they're upset. And the only thing that they can do is raise rates. And the first one is State Farm. This is going to come to you. Here in California, they're talking about how they want to raise insurance rates. They had a meeting with the state insurance commissioner this week, and it was like basically a mafia meeting where they basically did a shakedown with the state and said, listen, you don't understand. This is how it's going to be. We're going to raise homeowners' rates by a minimum of 30%, or we're going to be gone. We're going to axe the state. So you won't.
Yes, and the link is in the chat. A whole lot of destruction is happening pretty fast. Trucking company closes doors overnight. 2,000 people fired.
Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. Overnight, 2,000 employees just found out that they did not have a job, as a trucking company that they'd worked for a long time abruptly shut their doors with no prior notice. Let's pick up this story and let's talk about it, because this is going to be the next couple of years. And if you're not preparing for hard times, I don't know what to tell you. Think about the people during the Great Depression that lost their jobs. People that were hardworking people that thought they had gainful employment, and then all of a sudden we're told, hey, sorry, we have to lay you off, there's hard times. I don't know if you know, but the stock market was crashing. And a lot of people that were working go, I don't even own any stocks. Why does that have to deal with me? Well, when the stock market drops, all of a sudden companies find themselves in a precarious position when they were over leveraged, or they need to raise money because they can't keep going forward based off of the products they're selling and how much they're selling them for. So when their stock falls, all of a sudden they can't borrow and they're in a hard spot. And what's the number one thing a company does when everything falls apart? They start laying people off. Now this company, it says here, it's a Texas logistics company with 500 truck drivers abruptly ceasing operations. The story's out of Zero Hedge. It says about 2,000 truck drivers, warehouse and dock workers, and office personnel of Humble, Texas. It was a Texas-based U.S. logistics solution company, formerly Forward Air Solutions, say they were blindsided late Thursday when they were notified via conference calls or by text messages that the company was ceasing operations and that they would not be receiving paychecks on Friday. Can you imagine that, working and not only being laid off, but being told, hey, for the last week or two that you've been working, you're not even getting a paycheck for that.
It's the American way. So many, thousands upon thousands upon thousands are being laid off, and they get an email. They're not told ahead of time. They just get an email. Oh, you no longer have a job. Oh, right. Have you noticed the sky? Looks lovely. So, Governor Pritzker tells CNN that jobs are coming back to Illinois? Bullshit. They're not coming back. Oh, right. Pritzker. Multi-billionaire. He knows. He's the puppet in Illinois. He's the puppet in Illinois to bring down Illinois. No jobs are coming back to Illinois. Jobs are not coming back anywhere. We're done. Cooked. Evil reasons mega corporations push woke ideology. I'll post the link. It's coming from top down. You know, the ESG scores coming from BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street. Get that DEI going in your company, and we'll give you funding. Vietnam is the most affordable country for expats in 2024. Vietnam, for the fourth consecutive year, Vietnam is the most affordable country in the world, ranking first out of 53 destinations when it comes to personal finances. I'll put the link in if anybody is thinking of moving out of the country. Sure wish I could think that. And Ray Dalio says, Trump and Biden reflect decades of horrendous leadership by baby boomers. Sorry, baby boomers. Those of you who think we've been a swell generation who is in the ruling positions and who have been there for a very long time. Baby boomers committing treason. The generation of which he's a member has overseen a decline in America that has led to huge polarities in opportunities and living conditions and resulted in the loss of the U.S.'s economic, military, and moral leadership in the world. He blamed boomers' poor leadership for this decline. And I just blame obviously not every boomer, but we were gung-ho. Yeah, question authority, fight against authority, and then suddenly hit the workplace. The one who dies with the most toys wins. Yeah. And then the self-centeredness of our generation infected the offspring. Is that true for every baby boomer? No. But it is true for the large majority. Born between 1946 and 1964, has overseen a breakdown of the American dream. We also saw the generation that came after, the greatest generation, run up government debt, let the countries... so the baby boomers he's talking about. Run up government debt, let the country's infrastructure break down, allow huge polarities in opportunities and living conditions to develop, which led to pervasive economic and social inequalities, homelessness, mental illness, and drug problems. And Trump and Biden are reflections of the terribleness of the U.S. politics, and said he is now worried about America's future. Trump, who was born in 46, is squarely a boomer, while Biden, who was born in 42, is technically part of the so-called silent generation. Members of the greatest generation were born between 1901 and 1927. So it is surrealistically shocking to me to see the condition of the United States, such chronically horrendous leadership that has reached an apex in terribleness that is reflected in our two presidential candidates, our representatives in Congress. They are so unimaginably worse than I ever could have thought possible. America could soon see itself fall further still in the form of a breakdown of law and order and the breakout of civil strife. The influential billionaire previously said he believes there is a 35% or even 40% chance that the U.S. will be torn asunder by a new civil war. Don't even need a civil war. It's being torn asunder. Americans did nothing. Sorry. Trump, Biden, all of the horribleness in Washington, D.C., we allowed it. Mainstream MSNBC host calls for Biden aides to be allowed on stage with him at the next debate. And mainstream media also, or Democrats, some are calling for the deep fakes. They're outright saying maybe we could have artificial intelligence clean Biden up. Okay? Ooh. I'll just read a couple of paragraphs of this. Nothing else matters. Never cared for what they say, never cared for games they play, never cared for what they do, never cared for what they know. Metallica, nothing else matters. The most consequential questions of our time: what really matters? Do we control our own destiny, or are we controlled by greater forces, be they spiritual or earthly? And I would say that most people are controlled. Even the awake, controlled. Apathy, social engineering that they allowed, never worked on to get rid of, the self-centeredness, the selfishness, the I don't care, I'm just going to have a good time, got us here. In a tumultuous world, spiraling towards civil and global war, with a dementia-patient Trojan horse, pretending to run the most powerful country in global history and a globalist cabal of billionaire oligarchs, really calling the shots? Do we have any real control over our future? Does anything we do matter? A couple of weeks ago, this is the author of the article. A couple of weeks ago, we were at the Jersey Shore. I'm reading this because I think a lot of you will identify. A couple of weeks ago, we were at the Jersey Shore and out with friends I haven't seen in a while. We were at a bar in the late afternoon to see a band we like, and I put on my normie persona, talking sports and other non-touchy subjects while swilling a few beers and listening to 80s tunes. After the band finished, we moved on to another establishment with an outside bar and a band playing. I had a couple more beers, and one of my wife's best friends sat next to me at the end of the bar. She wanted to talk politics, the markets, the economy. These are the subject areas where I normally just listen and keep my views to myself, but after several drinks, I let my guard down. I proceeded to school her about the coming financial crash, the Great Taking, how the U.S. initiated the conflict in Ukraine, and how it didn't matter who got elected because shadowy globalist billionaires continued to pull the strings. Her retort was that I was saying the same thing 10 years ago, and her stock portfolio is now at an all-time high. She acknowledged my facts were correct, with the national debt at $35 trillion and interest on that debt exceeding $1 trillion per year. Financial disaster should be close at hand, but to her, nothing else mattered than the fact nothing bad had happened to her. So far, so why should she worry? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, for most Americans, that is the way. Then I turned to the COVID scamdemic, the national shutdown, this thing, the coming bird flu hoax, and how much I despise my government. This is where I may have gotten a little too vehement in my discussion, as the others in our group seemed concerned I might have a heart attack, even though they couldn't hear what I was saying over the music. She was that and that, believed everything the government told her about all of that, was appreciative of the government PPP money, which kept her restaurant from going bankrupt, and thought Fauci was a hero. If she didn't know that I was that, then she knows now. I loudly declared this guy to be a mass murderer who should die for his crimes. Told her that this killed and injured far more people than it ever saved. Shutting down the country over a flu was the work of fascists, and the entire pandemic was used to steal the 2020 election through mail-in ballot fraud. From her perspective, nothing else mattered other than the fact she had not died from those, and her business actually made more money from the PPP program than it would have by staying open. I told her anyone who can't see the truth at this point is purposefully keeping their head in the sand because they don't want to admit they were wrong, don't want to admit they benefited, don't want to admit that they're statists and their God is government. I guess so. I didn't have the heart to point out the serious illness her husband developed after getting those. I can't prove it was because of that concoction, but he didn't have it before those. I did tell her that hundreds of thousands of small businesses did go bankrupt because of the government shutdown, and she was lucky hers survived. The PPP program was essentially the government breaking your legs, giving you a wheelchair, and expecting you to thank them for their generosity. With your own tax dollars, the illusion spun by the regime media run deep, and normies don't have the wherewithal to break their mental chains. I will post the link to this article that goes on. We have a big problem with Americans, on the whole, caring only for their own little tuchus. Sick of it. It's bringing all of us down. Bringing all of us down. So, on that note, it's 6:50, and I just say we have to do work on ourselves. We've got to better ourselves. We have to get out there and help people in need. There's an awful lot of Texas subscribers that I have, and they're somewhat close to the Hurricane Beryl victims. There's a lot of victims of weather warfare, a lot of victims of the economy that are desperate for help. It's very hard to ask for help. Very hard. So extend yourself. If you know people are hurting and in need, extend yourself. Don't wait for them to ask. Live honestly. Speak honestly. Get your behavior correct. Like, get consistent. Don't betray people. When people ask questions, ask you to do something that you said you would do, don't ignore them. You show yourself as untrustworthy. We have to establish ourselves as trustworthy. And one of the ways in which we do that is to keep our word and to behave in a consistent manner. And I think only those who know who they are, have some semblance of knowing who they are, can do that. Does it mean that you have to be perfect 24/7, 365 days of the year? No. Because no one's perfect. No. So, do your best out there. Do your best out there. Humanity. Humanity. Do you still have it in you? Did you ever have it in you? Christians and non-Christians alike. Ask yourself, what would Jesus do? Ask that question. You can ask that multiple times a day. So, stay safe. Let's look at Hurricane Beryl before I sign off. Ah, yes. Okie dokie. Look at these storms in Florida, in Georgia, Alabama, going through North Georgia. This is so flippin' insane that we're even looking at this thing that is so manufactured. This should have lost its strength when it made landfall. Should not have been a hurricane rolling through Texas. All right, everybody. Do be safe. Awareness of your surroundings. Things are getting pretty wild out there in terms of violence. So if you have friends, if you have family, and you can double up to go shopping or to go out and do things, do it. Do it. Things are not good. And we know that. So pay very close attention to your surroundings. And that doesn't mean just at the stores. It means in your driveway. It means in your home. Unfortunately. All right. On that note, thank you for showing up. I hope to see you tomorrow night. And good night. And good luck. Ciao, guys.